Good morning, Service Lines community. How y'all doing today? Brother Doug.
Morning, Zach. The chipmunks are out this morning, like 8 of them. Are those considered rodents in your area?
Yes.
Down in EJ's area, that's considered an appetizer. So I know that they have little traps for them, but they call them wings, I think, down there, don't they?
Oh, picking on the Southerners this morning, Doug. I don't know.
Yeah.
Know.
Yeah. I feel like one day I might move down there. Hopefully I shouldn't alienate. I better not alienate myself too much, you know.
Good morning, EJ. Good morning, Adam. Glad to have you along.
Where are you from, Adam? You got an accent?
He's Wisconsin.
Oh. Whoa. Yeah, like there's a difference between a chipmunk and a squirrel when it comes to flavor. Please, come on now. Or is it just a level of human accent? I don't know if I can. That's like dancing. I'd be afraid to do that.
Come on, you got the Jay Leno accent. You can knock it out.
Although I could put a beard on and do like an imitation of Zach. Just south of Green Bay. All right.
See,
that's
Wisconsin, cool. Where they're he's almost in the land of out in a boot and a boot.
I love that accent.
Close to it. Good morning, Joe. Glad to have you along. So we're talking growth today, man.
Yeah.
Why do we want to grow?
It's sometimes an annoying word for some people in our circles, right? Like, everybody's talking about growth. It's not how you measure, you know. And it's a great topic. I'm glad you're bringing that up.
Well, in Doug and Zach fashion, we're asking the why. Why do we want to grow? What is motivating that growth? And then if we determine that we are actually ready, like how do we kind of time that out a little bit? Well, it's still 8 hours closer than I am. So you're that close to out in a boot and a boot.
Yeah, depends on which map you're looking at. You could even be closer, right?
It's true.
That's right.
No, yeah. So a lot of people have grown because of, well, everyone else is growing their company, so I should too. Some people
could be opportunity. You buy a business that's nearby, selling or giving away practically, right?
Oh, I think I'm gonna, grow my business that way, or whatever the reason is. Sometimes we're not doing it for the right reasons.
Right.
And so we need to take that pause and kind of really ask ourselves, why does this business want to grow? Why do I want to grow this business? So we'll kind of share from a little bit of our experiences and growth and contraction, and kind of trying to figure out that timing and the answer to the why. So, or how to ask ourselves the why even. So, you got a big scary thing coming today, don't you, Doug?
Yeah, man. And no medication has helped me out. Going to the dentist again. Whew. And this is the part that I'm really nervous about, which is where you're there for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and they take a tiny little pick and they just start scraping like 1,000 chalkboards all around you from a 360 angle. So I don't know. Does anyone have any advice? Whatever they give you, what do they give you when you take an edge off Xanax or something? Is that what that
Xanax?
Yeah. So they gave me one, and I've taken one twice for going to the dentist twice. And weirdly enough, it just makes me a little grouchy. It doesn't make me feel happy or carefree. It just makes me like, I don't know, kind of flat. Is that what it's supposed to do? Make you flat? Have you ever taken anything like that for painkiller? Or
No,
not? It's
no,
not a painkiller. That's more like a antidepressant type thing, right?
no, I don't mess with those. When I was quitting smoking more years ago than I can count, I took Shantex, and that screwed with my brain. And after that,
Oh,
I
I did.
stayed away from the pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a pretty happy guy, and that stuff pushed me to the suicidal edge. It was
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's why I've never really I've never needed anything like that. So, but anyway, I was telling you offline, I'm so busy this week. I don't even have time to be thinking about being nervous about going to the dentist at 10 o'clock. It's just going to have to get it done, fit it in the calendar and stop whining.
it's I mean, it's a great metaphor for the crap that we have to do in business. There's stuff
That's
that is
just
like we just
Just
don't
get
want to
it
do
done.
it.
Yeah,
Just get it
don't
done.
spend a lot of time thinking up front. Just jump in, get it
Yep.
done, and move on. I'll do
Conversely,
that
what
right
we're
now.
talking about today, you should
That's
spend
right.
a lot of time on.
Yeah,
You
I
should
know.
be
I know.
very
All
intentional.
right,
So
so we're being a
that's
little
where that was.
confusing.
That's
All
where
right,
that
let me
was
open
going.
us in prayer so God will guide our confusing conversation. All right. Lord God, we thank you for the gift that came from the cross, which is grace. Lord, your grace knows no bounds. We don't have to do anything to receive it. We don't have to prepare ourselves. We don't have to be more righteous than we are. You want us just as we are with all our problems and challenges, Lord. So help us stay humble as we seek you and your grace. And Lord, when we receive your blessing of grace and forgiveness and that peace that comes over us, may we then pass that on to the people around us, to our employees, especially those employees that challenge us, challenge our goals to get the job done and take care of our customers. May we come at that with love and peace as we talk to them. And how about our customers, Lord? Those customers that we don't quite know, but we feel like maybe they're trying to take advantage of us. Let grace do its work and guide us to a conclusion that is right with you, Lord. Does not mean that we become a doormat to people to take advantage of us, but we trust in your spirit, God, that you'll navigate us through doing the right decisions. Lord, and I lift up Zach to you today, this week. I thank you for you presenting to him this opportunity to be in the roofing industry, and he's now been at it a while. Lord, I just pray that you continue to show him his future and his path, and we thank you for everything you've given him and his family and provided for him as he jumped into the raging waters and tried something different and new, Lord God. So may all of the blessings fall upon the Kreider family. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So we've just spent the last couple weeks talking about planning of starting your business and maybe the early foundations of business. And now we're moving into the growth patterns of a business, right? You got your business kind of humming along. You're a 1-2-man show. You're kind of humming along, or maybe you're a 16, 18 tech crew and you're like, all right, we want to go to 20, 25, 30, whatever it is, right? Whatever stage you're at, you're ready to kind of grow. You really have to ask yourself, why do I want to grow? Right? What is the point of it? So I'm leading Smart Goals November 16th.
Nice.
And anytime Doug and I talk to you, it's goals, right? Like you have to figure out what your goals are. You really have to start there. So now you've figured out your goals. Can you answer the why of why I want to grow a business? And if you say it's to make more money, if it's to hit my monetary goals, I'm going to tell you to go back to the drawing board. Theo Zach is going to tell you, go take a step back. Let's go back to the drawing board and let's really get to the core of that. So for action, you guys have had several evolutions of growth throughout the years. How have you guys kind of answered that? Why are we growing? Was it necessity? Was it intentional? How did you answer that why?
Yeah, well, I mean, early on, it was that the owner wanted to get off the road,
Hmm.
so we grew and replaced him from that seat.
It's a very common answer.
Yep.
Very common answer.
Then he found that his wife, his husband and wife team, was it was time for her to step out, and so then they hired a manager to run the office or the company. So those are some good reasons. Those are some solid goals.
Yeah.
Before that and after that, though, I think most of our technician growth and area growth happened because you become a company that people go, hey, I'm selling my business. Would you like it? You know? And so I think there's probably at least 5 to 7 small company purchases over the years. And then all of a sudden you blink and you're like, hey, now we cover the whole state of Connecticut, right? And it doesn't. So that's kind of how it happened. I know that it could have gone differently. You could be more intentional. You could be more strategic. But I would say that early on we were not. It was more, small goals and then opportunity in more of a reactive way than a sort of strategic planning way.
Yeah, I was going to say that's very much a reactive growth pattern.
It worked.
Yeah.
There was a lot of ups and downs in there. And what you do find when you do it that way is you start to plan your business around the people that you hire. This is something I've been pondering lately, instead of the role that you're having. So can you imagine if you have this rock star, whatever technician or support person, and they leave for other reasons, they're gone for whatever reason. Now you are putting it all on the shoulders of that person, and that could cause a big change because you may not find that same exact person. That means everything, your systems and your processes all have to be recreated or done over or modified. And so, if you could begin early on, the Facebook profile before you put your photo in, it's a silhouette of a guy, a head, it's a cartoonish type thing, right? And then the woman has a little flare out. That's how I visualize everything that we do. It's more of the role, and then you can plug the people into the role that you want. So I think that's an important part to focus on for a couple minutes.
So before we go to that, how are you focusing on the why? Not like how has that evolution kind of changed? So we talked that everything kind of leading up to your last set of growth has been reactionary. Now, how are you answering that? Why do we want to grow? Where are we heading?
Yeah. So for the size this is how I've been processing it. For the size that we are, mainly the support staff side, right? As you grow into areas and you advertise and you start to build a customer base, your phone starts to ring more. And so that means you need more people to answer the phones. And then you have the billing and the AR and the parts. And all of a sudden, one parts person doesn't do the trick anymore. Now you need 1.5 or 2. So that starts to affect it. And so at this point, the size that we are, we're at an awkward stage where the support side is pretty big, and the technician side, we could use we could support 2 or 3 more technicians, but we don't have the area. We don't have the customers, I don't think, which means we have to expand, which we've done several times before, but not with this mindset of that it costs this much to answer the phones and to take care of all the vehicle maintenance, to pay the bills, all that. And we've got this size. And now the tech team, we can support more tech team for this size of support staff. So we now have to expand to a new area to be able to get those 2 or 3 more trucks on the road. and then you can get to a good ratio. You don't want to be 1-for-1, one person in the office for one tech. And you kind of want to find that balance. So that's the newest reason why we're going to expand. And it's going to be very much more strategic that way. Knowing what kind of revenue we think we could generate. And, with a new area, how many calls, how much more will the phone ring? Will the support staff at this size be able to support that new county that we bring on? So that'll be the fun part, but we'll be watching those metrics every step of the way.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I like the way that you're answering the growth. Okay, we needed the support staff to be able to support our people well. And in that, we found that we have extra capacity to support a couple more technicians. So now we need to grow our territory. So you have 3 different pieces of growth that you guys have kind of had to answer the questions along the way. So that's,
yeah. You know what, Zach? There's probably I know it happened at Action. There's some times where you're perfectly balanced, and the people that you have, you like, and they're good. And you might not want to mess with that perfection. Like I've got 3 people in the office. It took 9 to get these 3 over the last 10 years. I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to support them. And they are rock stars. And I have these 6 techs, and I just got to make sure I keep them happy. The reality is somebody is going to go, and then it can begin to change things. So you kind of got to be ready to pivot.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So, as we're going through this, you've had some planning that's happened along the way, right? So, I think one of the things that we don't take into consideration with growth, one of the underlying issues is some planning, right? So I personally am sitting down with a CPA and a financial planner to kind of map out, number one, some tax planning strategies for the end of the year, and then some strategies into the next year, right? And I kind of talked with you. I'm at the point where I need my own virtual assistant or PA, personal assistant, because there's not enough hours in a day to do what I need to do. So with growth comes more planning, right? And so
Yeah.
I think after we've answered that why, after we've kind of figured out, okay, this is why I want to do it. So mine is very much financial goals, surface level, which is going to support future goals that I've shared with my inner circle. I've learned to not just, share that in the wild. But my growth now is to support some financial goals that are going to support some future growth. So I've really answered my why. So now I've had to start planning. As you guys at Action grew, what were some of the planning steps, right? Like, so mine is small scale. I know I need a CPA. I know I need the financial planner. I know that I need to start recruiting a VA, PA, whatever, for me personally. What on a company scale, like for Action, did you guys kind of start to map out after you answered that? Why do we want to grow? What are we doing here?
I mean, you definitely have to forecast a little bit. When do we tend to want to, or when is the right time to hire new technicians? It's usually after the summer, because everybody's busy and run around with their head cut off, and you're going to be training someone that's going to slow you and your team down. It's not a bad time to train. I'm just saying it's not the most ideal time. So now you're going to train somebody during your slower season, your fourth quarter, first quarter. Those aren't always the prettiest quarters of your financial books of the year. So you have to be prepared to forecast and have the money set aside to be able to get them road ready and hoping you get them as soon as the calls start coming in, get them in the vans, get them in front of the customers, so that you can get your return on investment. So forecasting is pretty critical, I think.
Well, and your overall financial picture can help you with that, right? You and I were doing the math the other day in a conversation, and just like, without really digging into the books, just knowing where you guys were sitting, I'm like, yeah, you got enough for two and a half more people.
Yeah.
You almost could stretch to three. Three would kind of bring that margin down to a point where it could get uncomfortable in the slow times, but you can comfortably support two just based on the math. So you're knowing your numbers, which is what EJ just talked about over the weekend, with our mastermind. Knowing your numbers can really kind of help you forecast a little bit there.
And knowing where you want your numbers to be 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, because like EJ, he said world domination is what he wants. And so that would mean that maybe someone else wants their financial goal for the next 3 to 5 years is to be 20% profit each year. So you can grow at a 20% return on your investment each year, but it's going to be at a slower rate unless you're prepared to put 5%, maybe even 10% back. You have to please make sure you're paying yourself. Please make sure you're putting money into your retirement, build that into your budget. But I'm talking about when it's all said and done, what do you want to do with the actual profits at the end of each year? Do you want to put that into your personal investments, or do you want to turn that back into the business? You have to, I would think that, some people out there want to play it safe. It's just like the stock market and your 401k and how you want to invest your money. So that means that you can't just be thinking year by year. You can't just be going on a whim or an inspiration from a laundry room or some, Zoom call with 25 other guys, or ASDI or PSA, right? You gotta know where you want to head to. And then that way, when you have a lean year, you're not asking why. You know why. You planned for this. You planned to not keep a lot of your money. So you got to have that big long-term picture somewhat played out. And you can always change it, but have a plan of some sort.
And I think a lot of times this gets associated with adding more technicians or whatever. And, we have some one-man shows out there that are perfectly content running as one-man shows. So I guess advice to them, and one of the things I'm discovering, because while I work for a company, I'm essentially running a company within a company, right? Like I am my world. I generate my leads. I do my thing. So what is your long-term goal as a solo operator? Because we know the reality, as a solo operator, you're working until you can't work anymore. So are you planning for retirement? Are you looking to get rid of the business eventually? Are you looking to just shut it down? Like what you have to answer, what are my 5, 10, 20 year goals, right? And so if you begin to look at it that way, okay, how much do I need for retirement? How much extra do I need to be? Do I want to max out my Roth IRA this year? Okay, well, then I need $30,000 that's free to max out a Roth IRA, right? Do I have to take on another area? Do I have to take on another type of appliances? Do I have to whatever? So you have to begin to kind of answer those questions there.
Let me just rephrase what I think I heard you just say. You might want to grow as a one-man show in order to accomplish one of your expense items, which is your 401k. Hey, I need to make 30,000 more in profit because I want that to max out my 401k. what do I have to do as a one-man person? Does that, maybe I have to grow and do one more call a day, or maybe I'm going to open on Saturday and do 3 calls a day, right? Another thing that you can do is you can just think about additional services that you could provide to your customer, which may or may not cause you to have to hire anybody. Dryer, vent cleaning, things that are annually scheduled, that they wouldn't have asked you if you didn't ask them first. How do you get them to call you back? You ask them, would you like me to come back next year and do this thing? You could do service agreements, service plans. You could grow revenue with potential problems with income there. So a lot of ways to grow where you don't actually have to grow your team, right?
Yep.
I like that. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. So planning, strategizing is thinking, thinking ahead, preparing, organizing, outlining, engineering, blueprinting, mapping out, right? These are all things that when we look to grow.
Thanks for looking that up on chat, Saul. Nice job, buddy.
Yeah. We need to begin to kind of map these out. So yes, you can grow as a one-man show. You could move into higher end services. You could move into appliances that no one else in your area is looking for, right? Which kind of leads into Mark's questions. You have a population number to add for additional text. Like how much population in your service area does it take to support another technician? You got to take that back a step. What types of appliances are you working on? Are you servicing all of them? Are you selling some appliances? Are you offering dryer vent clean? Like what all are you doing? And then you can really begin to kind of geocache there. So
Mark's question is interesting because I mean, maybe I'll get that population number down. Everything's about a feeling, right? Clutch and gas. So for us, it's been watching every week the phone volume. How many incoming calls are coming in? What's our conversion rate, which is now a newer number that we have, which is a huge game changer. So it takes this many phone calls to book our schedules, right? That number is fairly new to us. So the good news is next year at this time, I'm going to be able to know that it takes, 300 phone calls a day to fill our schedule each and every day. So population, competition. All of a sudden, a Mr. Appliance franchise opens up, or recently over the last year or so, it looks like Sears has dumped a shadooby amount of money in it, and all of a sudden you see them advertising a lot of lead gen sites. So I don't know that population matters. It's all a part of it. There's just so many variables, and I think you just got to track your cancellation rate. How many people aren't willing to wait for you, how many days out, as well as your volume of calls coming in. And then you got to make sure your technicians are not mailing it in when they go in the house, right?
One of the numbers I think a lot of appliance companies ignore is the demographics of age, right? So we don't look at what is our boomer demographic, what is our Gen X, what is our millennial, what is our Gen Z, right? We're not to the point that the little alphas have their own appliances yet. But these other generations, are we looking at what percentage are we getting within this market share? So when we want to grow, we do have to be able to track. And I would love for an appliance company to start tracking their generations that they're actually receiving, and like where the percentages fall, because what that does is that allows you to kind of target your marketing, right? So when we talk about marketing, so many of us are taking a shotgun blast, and maybe we're just, maybe it's not a really big, like a buckshot pattern, but it's still a shotgun blast at what we're doing. But if you know you're marketing to Gen X and boomers, you're going to market one way.
Yeah.
If you're marketing to Gen X and millennials, it's a different way. You're marketing to Gen Z, it's a totally different way of marketing. Are we paying attention to how we're doing that? And then all of a sudden the return on investment is better.
For some of us, Zach, that could be fun. And others, it might be like, oh, I don't feel like thinking about that kind of stuff. But it's not hard. You just have to be aware of what customers are saying, right? When I was on the road and someone would say, wow, that's a lot of money. That's what I heard every single time I quoted the price. Then they'd say, it was like Mad Libs. Then they would say, I can buy a new blank for blank amount at blank. And it's like, all of a sudden the number starts to change. And you're like, whoa, this refrigerators are now 15. That's what people are spending now, 1,500. Then I take a ride down to Lowe's and I'm like, oh yeah, where the hell are the $800 side by sides? They're not here anymore. Now it's, so you have to pay attention to it. And wouldn't it be cool if like the Gen Z generation doesn't want to focus on like individual budgeting? Gen Z types, they kind of like subscriptions, streaming services, music service, like everything's an app.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be cool if the Gen Z generation just said, I'll pay this much a month, and when my appliances break, my company will come in and they'll take care of it for me, right? Service contract eras, it could be better, it could be worse, who knows? But you got to pay attention to what that generation wants. So that's kind of fun to think about. What's a Gen Z now? Like maybe 20, 22? I don't know. I have to look that up.
Yeah.
But they might not quite yet be our consumer on a big scale, but it'll be fun to see in the next 5 years.
Small scale. I mean, I think they're a small percentage of home ownership and such, but they are beginning to filter into that. So it's time to start paying attention and kind of watching that. And so, again, I bring that up because that's a growth factor. Like, how are we adding customers in? So maybe our goal is to actually truly have an entire state that we're servicing, right? Well, how do we get that? We're going to need all the generations to be a part of that. And why do we want to cover the entire state? Well, you know, in the case of Doug, it's because our state is the size of some towns in Texas.
It sure is.
And so, you know, we want to be known throughout the state. And so how do we do that, right? So these are just a couple of the ways. What I can tell you from my experience, reactionary growth is not a good form of growth. It can work, but it is the most painful type of growth. You tend to make a lot of mistakes and emotional decisions within reactionary growth. Doesn't mean it can't be successful. I just think it's the most painful that I've experienced in the growth patterns. Solely doing it for a monetary goal is a terrible goal for growth. Solely. If money is the only goal, it's a terrible goal. Money can support some other goals, and I think when it's coupled with other things, money is a good motivator when coupled with some other growth goals.
It's a good measure, but it probably shouldn't be a goal.
Yeah.
You'll either have a scarcity mindset one day or another day. You might, why grow? I don't have to. Look at the money I just made last year. Well, 5 years from now, you may not be that relevant anymore. So you have to keep focusing on something else.
What are some of the other ones that you've learned along the way as we're wrapping up in that? Or have you paid attention to it? Because you are kind of newer to the...
Yeah, we are. We're going into our maybe third year. First year was caveman-like, and this year was very intentional. I think growth only happens if you have a great product. So as you're trying to scale and grow and bring new people and new services on, and you're going to make mistakes along the way, that's going to put a lot of pressure, or a little bit of pressure on your quality.
Mhm.
Trusting other people to do what you and only you do so well. So there is that where you have to kind of balance. You have to keep quality at a certain level, and you have to be expected to make things right. When you made that mistake 14 years ago, and now an employee is making that mistake for the first time in their career, but you're not able to have your hands and your vision, your eyes in every position because you've
Mhm.
gotten a little bit bigger. It's not scary. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, you didn't break your company when you forgot to secure the standpipe,
Mhm.
the drain hose to the standpipe with a zip tie, right? But did you make it a procedure, and did you teach every technician coming on after that? Here's a bag of zip ties. This is for the standpipes, right? So if you forgot and you didn't train it well, get better. Just get better and keep adding.
One of yours has been to support your team better, right? So you started with lifelong external customers, and now you want lifelong internal customers. So your next
Yeah.
phase of growth is very much to support your internal customers well. So some of
Yeah.
your growth may have nothing to do with revenue streams and may
Yeah.
be entirely in supporting your people well.
Yeah. If you want, yeah, right, Zach, if you want employees for life, they want to be cared for, supported.
Mhm.
I've said this before, probably here. If I had a mentor every step of the way of my life, I would probably be further along than I am today. So
Mhm.
wouldn't it be cool if Action Appliance could provide that mentorship every step of the way, from with the beginning role that you have, with including potential growth opportunities within the company? Wouldn't it be cool if you're doing your job, but you're being trained and giving you opportunity to do the next level stuff a little bit? Wouldn't that be cool? Like a lead tech to
Mhm.
lead and mentor a little bit, and then give them the official role of service manager, and let them dive into that, and teaching them to be, take my job, that type of thing. So that's a cool part, right? So did I run it by you? Maybe, I'm not sure who it was, but I'm going to hire a second leader to support our service team, right?
That's where we started crunching the numbers on
Oh, okay,
support
yeah, yeah,
staff
yeah,
and
and it was
technicians,
like
and
it was like
5% or something like that.
yeah, it was under five. It was 4%.
It was like,
4% of the total revenue
yeah,
was going to go into support, leadership,
yeah,
coaching, mentoring, and so that if our company was $20 million, that's a lot of money, right? Four
right,
percent. At 4%, it's basically going to come off the bottom line,
right.
unless and as our technicians get better, we can raise our rates maybe to cover the expense a little bit there. But I would not do that until I'm given rock star service
Well,
from
and
near the top to bottom.
the other math piece we did in this, so growth really requires a lot of looking and some outside perspective. You had called me to bounce some ideas off.
Yeah.
The return on investment, we looked at the costs. We broke down the cost that it takes you guys to train, equip, and send out a technician. And we kind of talked a little bit about the cost when you lose a technician and then you now have to bring someone else on and retain. We looked at what that looks like over the course of the year. And 5% versus the expense of having
That's right.
to retrain
Mhm.
multiple times throughout the year. We went, I mean, we're stupid not to spend the 5%. Just spend the 5%, because then what that's going to do is that's going to bring down this other number. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden, 5% is less than 5%, right?
But okay, so Zach, you and I were such mindset people. So that if you're in your captain's chair, navigating the ship, you're talking from that angle. You're saying you're going to potentially save money by spending the money. But then on the other side, it's like you find an extraordinary human being who wants a career, and you go and you give them the best potential investment you can into them, and they get excited. They are passionate. Well, they're going to be passionate and excited and all in with your customers. Now your customers are having an incredible experience with a technician that's only been doing it for 9 months or a year and a half. He or she's going to make a mistake. And the customer's like, it's okay. I see that you're trying your best. So the customer experience is better. The technician, action being commissioned, will make more money. So they now have a great career with even more potential as more opportunity comes along. And then why would they want to go? Hopefully, right? That's the theory. They could go, but I'm just saying, I want to make it hard for them to go. I want them to stay here for life. So our goal is to have somebody retire with us in 25 or 30 years and make them rich, but also make them rich with joy, satisfaction, pleasure, the heart of service, right? So I have to find servants. That's right. What we look for. People who love to care for people. Imagine getting paid really well to care for people. That's awesome. So you're coming at it from, you're going to save some money, but here you're going to have the longevity, that more visionary stuff.
Well, and we looked at it from both angles for a reason. And that's why I say it does awesome. Take multiple people, because your question was, how do I pitch this? Okay, great. Mm-hmm. So I know who I'm talking to. So I'm going to look at these numbers. All right, here's where this is. And then you're like, but what about, and you got very excited about that. And I said, that's the part that lights me up. I just pitched the numbers because I know how we're going to accomplish this. And
you have to do both. You have to do them all, both. But do not get stuck on one.
Yep.
Because then people know around you why you're doing things. So be smart. I think being smart is knowing your numbers, but having a vision of your why and what you want to be is what should drive you. Numbers keep you on course.
And having wise counsel around you, right?
Absolutely.
Having wise counsel around you. So on that note, servicealliancegroup.com, come be an all access member. Join us for the free monthly mastermind. Our all access members get in for free November 16th. I'm talking SMART goals. We're coming into the end of the year. November is the perfect time to begin to plan. And this was very intentional. When we talked about it at the beginning of the year, as we were mapping out our masterminds, I said, I want SMART goals right before the end of the year, because I want everyone to begin to plan and plan well for the new year, whatever that looks like. So go become an all access member, servicealliancegroup.com, whole bunch of other resources there, but get some wise counsel, not just from me, but from your peers and other members of the community. Servicealliancegroup.com. Doug, always a pleasure.
Amen. Appreciate that, my friend.
Wish you the best in the dentist today. May you stay in the chair and not end up on the ceiling like a cat.
Trying to figure out why I'm nervous waking up today. It's all that. It's in my head, man.
I hate the dentist too, so I feel you. I'll be praying for you, buddy.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Have a good one, everyone.
Guys, have a good one. Jason and Mike will be back tomorrow on the Morning Grind. See ya.
Bye, guys.